got the vibe, Brother Dee. Playing the rhymes, Brother Dee. He's coming at ya. Let my hands be used to build and not destroy. Let my words be truth to every girl and boy. Make my feet to go wherever there is need. Oh, let my light so glow that all may see you in me. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. On earth as it is in heaven. May I have clarity of mind, that the righteous path I see. Let me see the God in every living thing. Let me use my art for the healing of humanity. Oh, let me live my life, that with every breath I breathe, thy will be done. On earth as it is in heaven.
The master. Yes, greetings in the name of the Most High Heavenly One, and I bow to the divinity of the kingdom of God within you. Welcome to the Atonist Gospel Show right here on Supreme Radio. And without further ado, I am proud and happy to have a guest on the line as a part of our Activate Book Tour 2025, entrepreneur and businesswoman Diana Powell. who is on the line, is going to be speaking to us today. So if you'd like to join us, or if you've got any questions for Miss Powell, the number for the studio is 07514 463 530. That's 07514 463 530. So, Miss Powell, how are you? Okay, finally got you.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you.
It's afternoon where you are. So where exactly are you? We want to know your home address and everything else, and that's exactly where you are, so we can find you. Not really.
I'm currently residing in the part of the world they call United Arab Emirates. I have been here now going on 7 years, actually.
7 years?
7 years. It's a long time. It's a very, very long time.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been in the Middle East. I'll say 6 years in. This year will be 6 years in the UAE, and I was 2 years in Saudi Arabia. So I've been in this region for quite a while.
Saudi Arabia. Oh, wow. You know what? You know what it reminds me? Because a few weeks ago, I interviewed a mutual acquaintance of ours, Jennifer Williams, who's responsible for doing this book tour, this amazing Activate book tour. So big shout out to Jennifer Williams, who's responsible for arranging a lot of the guests that I've been interviewing over the past few weeks, including yourself. And I remember when she spoke about she lives in China, right? And it's just, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that you don't actually imagine, or most of us don't imagine hearing black people and China in the same sentence. And now I'm talking to you, and I'm hearing black woman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and it's like, huh? It's the same feeling. You don't expect to hear it in the same sentence.
Yes. I mean, I would also like to say big thank you to Jennifer for putting on this tour. She's such an amazing woman, and she's given us as authors the platform to share our stories worldwide. And going back to what you say, the world is a big place, but people are moving around the world. The world, for us as melanated people, as black professionals, we are in every corner of the world now, whether it's China, whether it's in the Middle East. So when you're looking, so if there's anybody in London that you haven't seen for a while, guaranteed they're probably another part of the world. But yeah, we are global. We are global people. We all over the world.
Brilliant. So I guess the question is, so tell us about yourself. Who is Diana S. Powell?
Diana S. Powell. I have many facets to myself. There's many elements to me. But what I will say is, as you can tell by my accent, I am someone who was born in the UK. My parents are Jamaican. My grandparents came over to the UK part of the Reconstruction era, as part of the Windrush era. I can even go even further back on my father's side, who is from a region in Jamaica called Trelawney, and we are also descendants of the Maroons. We are also, we connect through that line, our family all the way to West Africa, to Ghana. So who am I also? I am also one of the founders of True Eternal Life, holistic health store in London.
Okay.
I am an author, as I said. I am a business coach. I'm a business consultant for over nearly 20 years now. I've been in education for nearly 18 years. So there is a lot to me. So it depends on which direction we want to go down. But everything that I have said has formed the foundation of who I am. And I use that narrative in my book, Afro in the Boardroom. So the story of who I am is the founding information, the foundation of Afro in the Boardroom. And to understand Afro in the Boardroom, you have to have an understanding of my story.
Okay. Well, as I've said to many of my guests on my show before, no one can tell your story better than you can. So I'm saying that in response to what you said about, well, it depends on which way we want to take it. Well, you tell us. It's your story.
Well, as I mentioned before, one of my new founding areas is an author. My book is Afro in the Boardroom. Afro in the Boardroom is interestingly enough because I have known this presenter for many, many years in another capacity.
You're a dude. She's talking about me, by the way. Everyone, she's talking about me. I've known this presenter.
It was this man that actually was one of the reasons why I wrote this book many, many years ago. And as I mentioned before, I've been in education for a number of years. I've been a business consultant and worked for a number of government agencies, Haringey, local authority, business links, and a number of them. And so, I used to do a lot of community development work, and one of the things that people used to know me for was my appearance. Yes.
Okay.
My signature look was my hair. You could always tell me. You could always tell who I was because of my hair. And the reason why I mentioned this is because it's very few people in my field of work used to have their hair in an afro.
Right.
Or used to have their hair in natural styles at that point in time. So that was a signature look I had. And so I remembered having this conversation with my colleague, and he mentioned to me that, why don't I write a book? This is about maybe going on 10 years ago, pushing 10 years ago, even more than that, I think. But I wasn't ready to write a book, and he was saying, write a book about business, write a book that Black people could gravitate to, understand the navigations of the business world. Because many of my clients at that point in time were from the African Caribbean communities. There was a lot of support, money, targeting that particular group because there's a lot of inequalities, there's a lot of challenges that Black men and women in business startups were having. So that was the predominant, those were my clients, basically. I would say about 80 to 90% of my clients. And so this young man was saying, well, why, as part of your legacy, you're not going to do this forever. Why don't you write a book? So I wasn't ready to write a book. Even though I was a writer, I used to write many business plans, business proposals, strategic plans, and so forth, but I never really thought about that. So it was something that used to go around my head. And I can understand the Afro element. I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But the boardroom, when you think about the boardroom, in your head, it triggers the idea of the corporate world. But I was bouncing in and out of the corporate space. But I wasn't anchored in it the way I would want to tell my story. So he used to always say to me, when are you going to write your book? When are you going to write your book? And I said, I'm not ready yet. I'm just not ready yet. And so years later, I actually had a conversation with a friend about, writing a book. And sometimes when you have ideas, sometimes I always say to people, your ideas are for you. Your ideas are it's not necessarily for everyone. So it wasn't really welcomed. Wow. I actually put the book down. And again, it was a time in my life where I think I was exploring the idea of going down another direction. And so I put the book down for another 5 years. Until a year ago, well, coming up to a year actually, my mother, she transitioned. She passed away.
My condolences.
Thank you, thanks. I was with my mother until like final hours. And when you are with somebody in their final hours, it makes you think about life. It makes you think about legacy. It makes you think of, if I was to leave this world, what would people remember me? How would they remember me? So it was through that experience made me decide to pick up the idea of writing a book about Afro in the Boardroom. But Afro in the Boardroom became more than just a business book. It became a story of my life, the way I navigated the world of business through my lens.
Okay. That's that.
So,
wow.
So Afro in the Boardroom actually is a metaphor.
Okay.
So Afro, in the sense, well, it's much more than just my hair. Afro represents my culture, my identity, how I turn up in the world. And that's why I wanted to say to you about my hair when I first started out, because it was, for me, it just reminded me who I was in places and spaces. It kept me anchored. So it created the ideas, it formulated my values, how I navigated and how I saw the world. So when I talk about the boardroom as a metaphor, a boardroom is not just about the corporate place. It's spaces and places where you turn up, where you make decisions, where you may shrink, where you may stand up to challenges. So because I wanted to create the narrative of my life through the lens of business, because my business, the life of me in terms of a businesswoman, didn't start with clients. It started way before that. And it is actually through the reflection as I was writing Afro in the Boardroom, I realized that this was something that was innate in me going way, way, way back to my parents and even further back to my grandparents. And that's why in the beginning of my book, I talk about authenticity, I talk about self and identity, and where that actually comes from. Where is that rooted? Because a lot of the decisions and how we turn up in our adult life is actually rooted in how we were in our formative years.
That's true.
So that is why, when I mentioned earlier on, it depends on which direction you want me to go with this, because Afro in the Boardroom is a book about navigation. It's about understanding the world through a particular lens. And I've always said to people that this book may not necessarily be for you. It's for those who can gravitate, who's looking for something different, who wants to turn up in their spaces as them, who wants to understand how to navigate some of these challenges in the workplace as their authentic self. So, how to recognize some of the challenges and how to deal with some of the challenges.
That's an interesting point, Diana, because I'm sure you might have heard, because you mentioned about wearing your natural hair in that kind of space, and people possibly taking issue with that. In terms of here in the UK, I'm sure you're aware, there was, for lack of a better word, like a battle or a struggle that many not even just black women, men as well, had to go through in the business world, but women were affected more. I would argue that women were affected more by it than men. Men were affected as well, but black women in particular, where if you turned up in a business environment, you were, let's say it for what it is, you were expected to have a certain look, i.e. straight hair, or many black women would have to wear a wig or so forth. I mean, if you're doing that because you want to, then that's fine. But it seems to be an expectation where if you turned up with your natural hair, you didn't quite fit in, or you were pressured to straighten your hair and have a more acceptable look, which is kind of like insulting, because it's like you're saying your natural hair that God gave you is not acceptable, you know? And sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I totally agree with that, because I touch on my encounters with just exactly what you said in two of my chapters. One of my chapters is unapologetically black, unapologetically successful. And there's another chapter when I talk about cornrows to contracts, about self and identity. Because again, this is why I spoke earlier on about my heritage and where I was coming from.
Diana, we're gonna put a pin there because I've got 13 seconds before the ad break. So we're just gonna put a pin there, and then we're gonna continue because you've definitely triggered, because a lot of questions have come in. So
your local community station, Supreme Radio on your dial. You're now on the one to be on, and we're bringing you all that's best in reggae music. So jazz, funk, and soca too, oldies and those new releases. Not forgetting gospel in the mornings on Supreme.
You're listening to Brother Dee on Supreme FM.
Okay, Nana Margaret Tandor, thank you for that song's called Wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, if you're just joining us, you are tuned in to Brother Dee right here on Supreme Radio. We'll be taking you to the top of the hour. I have a very special guest, the one and only, the amazing Miss Diana S. Powell. So if you'd like any questions, text them in from now. Please do not wait till the last minute. Number for the studio is 07514 463 530. That's 07514 463 530. This Brother Dee take you up to the top of the hour at 10 a.m., which I do believe we'll be joined by Nigel B, who'll be standing in for Booker T. Sort shifts again. So remember to check out Nigel B coming up from 10 a.m. right after here, where he'll be playing those Sunday grooves for you. Okay, so without further ado, we have Diana Powell on the line. Miss Powell, how are you? You're good. Glad to hear that you're still with us.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm loving the conversation.
Brilliant. So we was talking about being pressured, like I said, something that black men have faced as well. But I would argue that the pressure has been more on black women, have been pressured to about having a certain look when going into the business world. And you was just commenting and talking about that. So if you could please continue from where you left off.
You know, I myself had those challenges myself. I reflect in Afro In The Boardroom from my chapter from Afro to CEO when I first encountered this. It was one of my first jobs. I was working in the public sector. Now, the reason why I first of all spoke about my family is because your family, most families anchor you in a particular way of strength. They create identity. They create the way you as a young person, in those formative years, see the world. My parents, my mother, my father, my grandparents, as I mentioned before, were part of that Windrush era. They used to sit down, they used to tell us about the challenges of that year, of those years. And, many of us have heard about those signs and the doors of no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. Yeah, they've had to fight their way through. They've had to deal with the teddy boys, deal with racism in the workplace. You think they dealt with racism? Try and live in that era. Yeah, but they still kept a lot of the times that identity intact. Back then, family was strong, community was strong. So the reason why I talk about that, so when I first entered into the workplace, I was very much, I adorned myself with my African wraps. My jackets were in African print. They didn't know what to do with me, right? And it was a thing where I would say about 8% of the people in there were middle class. Men, white men from the working class. And the rest were from different communities. So, of course, I couldn't relate to them. What do I say to you? I don't know what to say to you. I'm talking about in the late 80s, early 90s. I couldn't relate to them. I just got, what am I going to say? All you guys used to talk about is EastEnders. and so I used to really love being around my people. And that was okay for me because that was what I was used to. But that was a problem. There was a problem with me being my authentic self. There was a problem with me having my hair natural. There was a problem with me in my cultural garb because it was seen too black.
When you say too black, let's drum that down. What is meant by too black?
Too black because in that type of space, you rarely saw at that point in that era people like me, right? Very professional, very skilled, very articulate, but looked in their authentic self. And what was quite interesting, because you will find that there were people from the Asian community, from India, from Pakistan, they will come in their national dress. There was no problem. But as soon as I turned up, the way I turned up, there was a problem. And I was called to the office to discuss it.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually quite shocked. I was like, I don't understand, because what is the problem? Now, the reason why I'm talking about this in this way is that a lot of us buy into, not all of us, but some of us buy into this, the narrative of what is professional. What does professionalism look like? Now, I came in not knowing the culture. I came in being me. Right?
Yeah.
And then I encountered this. I didn't understand what I was looking at because I didn't see there was a problem. But surely there was a problem. I was told to tone it down because it came across as if I was, they said in their words, it's not necessarily the case, but in their words, being racist.
Wow! Wow!
So going back to what I'm going, so what I'm saying about hair as an identity, people have a perception of women who have natural hair. There's a perception, and I'm saying in brackets a perception. That's not the reality, but that's a perception.
Yes.
Yeah, and so when you go in, and the higher you go in the boardroom, the more challenging it can become, because when you're in these places and spaces, it's about understanding the culture There is a culture that is taking place. There is the narrative of this is how we do things here.
Right. So,
if you don't fit that, yes, a lot of times you have problems.
All right. So that is interesting. Now, I've got a quick. Beverly from Hackney wants to ask, greetings, Brother Dee and guest Diana Powell. I often I work in the NHS and I wear my hair natural. And I'm often criticized by my own black sisters for wearing my hair natural. What advice would you give? This comes from Beverly in Hackney.
Well, that's another reality. Unfortunately, yeah. But not everybody's going to see the world you see the world. Not everybody's going to see self-identity the way you see that. So again, it's about how you see yourself, how you are anchored in yourself, your own identity. Because at the end of the day, you can't control how they think and behave around you, but you can control how you react to that.
Yes, of course.
Rhetoric.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding and being whole within you. People are always going to have to say something about something. They can't help it. But as long as you are whole within yourself, whatever they say, yes, don't let it affect you. Because when you react to it, after a while, you can either do two things. You can either shut it down, or you don't react to it. Because after a while, they've got nothing to say. After a while, it will start to just burn itself out. And because, again, some of these people in these places and spaces, they've got nothing else to do with themselves but to gossip about others. And there's the other side to it. Some people are actually jealous of you and your confidence. That's another side to it.
Oh, wow.
You can be you. You don't have to have, and I'm not saying, it's all about choice, how you turn up and how you look. It's about choice. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But then there are some people, and I was also a product of this in a part of my life, where I was part of the weave culture. I fell short, right? And there was that's for me. I'm talking about me. I'm not criticizing anybody else. I'm talking about me. And I turned up looking like that. And then I felt trapped in that identity to the point where I couldn't leave my home unless I looked like that. Because I didn't want people, what are they going to say to me when I got no makeup on? What are they going to say to me with my natural hair? And it's so interesting because I shifted from somebody that was anchored, and then when I went to the boardroom, another shift took place. It wasn't long. But I actually fell into that narrative of the culture of self-identity. But in my inner being, I knew that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Right. Diana, time is short. I've got a couple of more questions that I want to put to you. We've got about 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and Nigel B comes in.
Okay. I hope that's okay with the sister that phoned in. Yeah,
that's fun.
Sort of, yeah.
We're gonna have to do a part two because clearly this isn't enough to do to cover everything. But Lincoln in Stoke Newton, he's texting the question based on what you said. He said, "Greetings, Brother Dee and Sister Diana. How did you deal with management when they accused you of being racist for wearing your hair natural?" This is from Lincoln in Stoke Newington.
Okay. No, I was a bit radical back then.
Whoa, radical.
Meaning, I really, when they brought me to the office, I was actually stunned, first of all, because I didn't think there was a problem. And then I had a mentor in upper management. Now, no one really knew that I used to go upstairs and have a conversation with this guy. Because when you used to have these conversations with management, that everyone's looking over their laptops or they're looking over their computers, right? So anyway, it was more of that conversation of understanding the politics, understanding the culture, understanding who you're dealing with. And so for me, I didn't tone down because this is who I was. And the reason I started to understand this because, remember, you have human resource, you have policies, you have procedures. So I was doing my work perfectly fine. So the only problem you had was with how I looked, and you couldn't find me for that.
Yeah.
Right? You can't find me for that. So you could say whatever you want to say. I started to understand the politics. I got it. My clients that used to see me used to love me. Oh my God, how you look lovely. I just love your hair. How you doing? So I knew there was an issue with whoever it was that decided that there was a problem. I couldn't play into it. Because it didn't affect me. I was okay. I was anchored in myself. It didn't affect me. And so after a while, they just accepted me as being me. And the rhetoric on the talk, after a while, it just disappeared. Because I wasn't going to shy away. I wasn't going to make myself small to make you feel comfortable.
All right. I hope that answers...
That's how I dealt with it.
I hope that answers your question, Lincoln. Thank you very much for texting that in. In terms of, this is coming from Stephanie in Stamford Hill. And Stephanie goes, greetings, Brother Dee and guest Diana. Does your book offer tips on how to deal with microaggressions in the workplace? This is from Stephanie in Stoke Newington. Stamford Hill. So
basically, I have 13 chapters in my book, and there's a story. I go through my story, I go through my journey, and then at the end of each chapter, there is lessons from the boardroom. And the lessons from the boardroom is now looking at as somebody in business, because a lot of the challenges and the lessons that we go through, we can look at them from a business perspective as well. We can transfer them over. We can take a look at it from another lens. So even though I talk about my life, I reflect on it from a business perspective, because a lot of the times it can align itself to that. So yes, when we talk about microaggressions, I do have lessons and reflections on that. I'm not going to go into it in detail because I don't want to take away from the book. But we encounter these aggressions, a lot of us, some of us, quite often, and a lot of times we don't even know what it is. Sometimes it's until somebody actually points it out, or you may have done your research or read an article. A lot of the times we don't even know that it's happening. We just feel within ourselves, there's something not right here. And I can't. And then you're talking to people, and they will say to you, "Oh, it's all in your mind. Nothing wrong. It's all in your mind.
It's in your head.
Or, it's all in your head." But that there is something happening with me, with that individual, or in this department that's making my spirit rock. And this goes back to what I in the earlier part of my book, where I speak about myself and self-identity, and being able to then have a default point. Even though I told you before that I went off track a bit, but I quickly came back because of my default point. With regards to microaggressions, you're not on your own. I would say, there are networks of people, there are mentors, there are coaches, there are people around that can support you through that. Because sometimes we think that we are on our own, and sometimes we are embarrassed to even talk it out loud that is actually happening.
All right.
And we keep it to ourselves, and that in itself creates stress and all other type of health issues as well. So I will say to any of those who are listening, if this is you and you recognize it for what it is, then there are people, there are networks that can support you to help you through this.
All right, thank you very much. Diana, this will be the last question, and we've got about 3 minutes. What do you... this comes from Lorraine in Stratford. And Lorraine in Stratford says, greetings, Brother Dee and Diana Powell. Why is it that these corporate men are so threatened by our natural hair? Lorraine, you couldn't take that question in earlier. Oh, my gosh. I know that's a big one, Diana. Do your best. We've only got about 2 minutes left.
But there's many layers to that because, you know, a lot of it is because I don't understand. People are sometimes threatened about things that they just don't understand. Yeah? You know, one of the things, because remember, hair is someone's identity. However you dress it up, whatever you do with it, that's your identity. It goes back to because there was actually a point in our history where we as a people, as females, wrapped our hair. People say, okay, we only wrapped our hair because of the sun. Yes, that was one part of it. But the other part of it, we wrapped our hair because they did not want to see our hair. Because our hair showed that we had confidence. Our hair showed that we had strength and power in ourselves and our identity. People, when they see you turn up like that, they will say, you're not like the norm. I don't get you because you look different. That makes them feel a bit uncomfortable because they don't know how to take you. Because the other sister spoke about microaggression. And we didn't even touch on narcissism yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We could do it.
But a lot of the time they just don't understand. And they when they see the Afro, they think about the Angela Davis. They think about Black Power. They think about the Black Panther. So straight away they see the hair, they see threat, and they see that you don't like white people straight away. That's the mentality that they have. They feel threatened. It's not the case because this is your natural appearance. When you came out of your mother's womb, this is how you look.
Yeah.
But for them, that natural look is you going against the norm of what society has put out there of what it should look like.
Right, and Diana, we're going to have to end it there. We're really going to have to do a part 2. Because we've got 50 seconds left before Nigel B comes in. So thank you very much for that. If you just quickly say, how do people contact you? Where do they purchase your book, Afro in the Boardroom?
Afro in the Boardroom, it's on pre-order right now. It's going to be a big launch in October. But I'm also having a lot of webinars. There's one coming up this week, narcissism in the boardroom and protecting yourself and your identity. On the 15th of July, there's from burnout to balance and creating wellness strategy in your workplace. So there's a lot of conversations around microaggressions, narcissism, how to navigate the boardroom places and spaces.
If you have a business, service or product and need people to know about it, you need to advertise. Get the word out about what you have to offer to thousands of potential customers using the radio. Radio advertising